Evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Today, the Average Joe Radio Show hosted a debate in Green Bay between the three Republican candidates of the 8th Congressional District, each with a candidate trying to stake their claim as the top Republican candidate ahead of the primary election, which will be August 13th. Drew Best attended tonight's debate. He joins us now live in our newsroom with your voice, your vote coverage. Drew.
Bill, the three candidates agreed on many of the subjects in tonight's debate, including calling for Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle to be fired following the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump.
Candidates shared similar beliefs on immigration and eliminating the federal Department of Education. It was in conservative philosophy that the candidates became more critical. Most of the back and forth came from Tony Weed and Senator Andre Jacques. Weed continuing to bash career politicians.
And we need to go into Washington, and I think it's important to have a political outsider like me, someone that is endorsed by President Trump. Like President Trump, he was an outsider as well, to actually go to Washington and solve problems rather than just career politicians continuing to try to win arguments.
In response, Andre Jacques calls out Weed's campaign for claiming him to be an anti-Trumper and for being, quote, too pro-life.
You know, I think Tony Weed probably showed himself to be more the career politician than anybody tonight, especially when he got cornered in lies. The fact that he continued to either deflect, not give clear answers, or in fact outright lie himself in terms of the recounting of things where there's a very clear record. I think he was very evasive, and I think that's unfortunate.
While Tony Weed did not provide a yes-no answer on whether or not the 2020 election was stolen, Roger Roth stood as the only candidate on stage to say the last presidential election was not stolen.
But that doesn't mean that I don't have serious problems with how our elections were conducted or be upset with the outcome. I mean, even Ron Johnson has acknowledged that Republican congressional candidates in our state received more votes than President Trump in 2020.
I reached out to Democratic candidate Dr. Kristen Lyerly's campaign ahead of the debate. They sent back this statement saying in part, quote, "Our campaign provides a clear contrast and reflects the values of our community, demonstrating that unity is the only way forward to achieve the common good. I look forward to having the opportunity to debate whichever of these three extremists survives their primary, and in the meantime, my campaign will continue to listen to our friends and neighbors and fight for them each and every day," end quote.
The three candidates are now less than a month away from the Republican primary, all three hoping they can leave their mark after tonight's debate. Bill?